Just to be sure that there's no questions or confusion about how to use the emotion wheel, here's a quick introduction and instructional video. Okay. These bad boys, sorry, it's like really bright, are called feeling wheels or emotion wheels. There's zillions of them on the internet. I picked this one because it's got 7 core emotions at the beginning, at the middle, and then they kind of go out and become a little bit more specific, and then a little more specific still. So it doesn't matter when you're going through the emotion wheel. It doesn't matter if you start in the middle and radiate out, or if you like to start on the real specific words. And then if the specific word doesn't match, maybe you go in a level and see if some of the other words match closer. But what are we matching it to? The way that you use this emotion wheel best is to identify and experience a situation in which you are having or have had an emotional experience, emotional reaction to something. So let's say you had an argument with someone, or let's say you had a situation that was really difficult for you to handle for or whatever. But essentially it's a situation in which you have felt emotions. There's really 2 major brains. There's 3 in total, but there's 2 big ones. One is the emotional brain and the other one is the thinking brain. The emotion brain happens like this, and it's something we cannot stop. It's instinctive, it is immediate, and it's reflexive. So the idea is that with the emotional brain, you're walking down a path, you see something that looks like a snake, you jump back. You don't even think about it. It's just automatic. Boom, you kind of move back. What happens with the thinking brain is it kicks in a little bit longer. It needs a little bit more information to kind of rationalize and put some things together to confirm if the emotion brain was in fact correct that that is a snake and not a twig. So what happens with the emotion wheel is you are giving your brain words. Most people can only describe for themselves how they feel in 3 main words: angry, sad, mad. Sorry, mad, sad, happy. Those are the 3 ones. I can't throw angry in there twice, although some days. Anyway, so mad, sad, happy. Those are the 3 words that we normally use to describe how we're feeling, but that's not specific enough for our brain, our thinking brain, to know what to do with it. So you have an emotional experience, someone comes up and they start getting really mad at you, or something happens. Road rage is a classic example of whether you have a really good balance between your thinking brain and your feeling brain. So let's say you're driving along, suddenly someone cuts you off. What the emotion wheel going through it will do for you is, in that moment when your body is flushed with all this cortisol and adrenaline and your heart is pounding and your hands, I always get tingles on the back of my hands when I get really scared. World's weirdest reaction, but that's what happens. So that's your emotional brain going off, right? Someone's pulled in front of you, slam on the brakes, and it's immediate, reflexive, and it's something you barely even need to think about, right? You really aren't really thinking about it. Where road rage comes in is where there's a disconnect between how you feel and then rationalizing through what's actually going on. Sure, it's frightening when someone cuts you off, but do you really need to chase them, 2 miles down the road, weaving through traffic, nearly killing everybody? Probably not. So dysregulated people in a road rage incident are like booting it down the road. They're mad and they're not really engaging their thinking brain. They've kind of let it go. When you train yourself to use this, and the same thing happens, you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off. Yes, you will always have that emotional reaction. You'll never be able to stop that. But what you will teach yourself to do is take a brief moment of time to connect how you feel with what you think and start rationalizing through the situation. The person may not have seen you. Maybe they've had a bad day. Maybe they really have to go to the bathroom, right? Was it inconvenient? Yes. Did they almost kill you? Probably. But again, you don't allow your anger to go past the moment and then turn into something else. This is one way that the emotion wheel can be really helpful. In our brains, if we do not name what it is that we're actually feeling, we cannot process, which means that anger. So that's where road rage comes in. People who can't process that anger and then put some thoughts against it and then start calming themselves down are doomed to roll in the emotions for a very, very long time. People who go and they lose someone in their lives are doomed to stay in that sadness if they can't really articulate what kind of sadness. So, right. So in here, there's a whole blue section on sad, so maybe, again, I'm just going to use the idea of loss. of losing someone important in our lives, whether it's a friend that won't talk us to anymore or someone that actually passes on, you may feel fragile, right? Because that's important, right? It's important to say, well, I'm sad, but I feel like anything can set me off. That's fragility. Of course, grief is something you may feel powerless. Maybe you felt that you were powerless to stop a sickness, right? It's important to be able to really dive into and identify these words, and so that you can either, with your thinking brain, ask for the support you need, right? Cry because you got to get rid of the neurotoxins, right? Because it really allows you to dig into what's really going on. It allows you to, generate other thoughts that can begin the healing process. There will always be grief in a situation where there is loss, any kind of loss. Divorce is loss, friendships can be lost. And of course, people, when they pass on, are lost. And we need to process our way through that, but we guide our brains and our bodies in a more gentle way if we really tell ourselves, what are we really feeling? How are we reacting? In what way are we reacting to this? And then your thinking brain can now start to come up with, okay, well, now what needs to be done? What can we do about this? And sometimes you can ask for help. Sometimes you can't. And this is something where that becomes acceptance, right? There are people in my life who don't give me the kind of relationship that I really want from them. And I can't ask it. I've tried and getting absolutely nowhere. So in the absence of me being able to get what I want in the way that I want it, I must then turn to an acceptance to say, well, this is simply what is. And if what I'm looking for in this relationship cannot be given, can I get that same relationship type of feed from someone or somewhere else? And then you look for opportunities to actually give that to you. Or even better, you look into yourself and to say, how do I not depend on other people to need to feel whole, which is the holy grail of emotional regulation. It is to understand that we are in control and can stay in control in any situation, no matter how difficult, because we can understand how we work. Those who do not feel or pretend not to feel, because remember, the emotional brain kicks off and there's no stopping it. So your body is awash in whatever chemicals it's like spewing out in response to whatever's going on. If, however, you do not identify what that is and learn how to process that, then the emotion has nowhere to go. And where does it stay? It stays in the body. And so it can turn into a whole host of maladies. It can be back pain. Back pain is actually one of the primary areas where repressed emotions begin to kind of just take grip because it creates tension, right? Tension. I used to have a really tight jaw. This is where I held my tension. I've learned to start releasing that sooner because I'm giving myself a methodology on how to actually name what I feel and kind of go, okay, well, if that's how I feel, where do I want to go with that? Do I need self-acceptance or acceptance of a situation? Can I seek help? Can I take action? What can I do? This is what the emotion wheel will do for you if you teach yourself how to use it, how to name the emotions, to take away their power, put yourself back into the control seat, and allow you to think and feel and process, even physically process if you need to, right? You can punch a pillow, scream into the pillow, hit a punching bag, do 10 push-ups, whatever you got to do. That's part of the emotional processing process. And those things will allow you to never lose control of yourself in any situation at any point in time, no matter what's coming your way. So the more often you use the emotion wheel and ask yourself, how do I feel about blah? Or how am I reacting to this? Or how did I react to that? And you just go around this wheel, you write down the words that are sticking out to you, you give it some thought, you just ruminate over that a little bit, ask yourself, is that everything? Is there more? Where does this come from? Can I process this? What do I want to do with this information? And by then you've connected your thinking brain, and now you can actually do something positive for yourself. Stay in control of your emotions and you stay in control of your life. Because if you don't know what you want and you don't know what to do, it's probably rooted in you're not quite sure how you feel. This bad boy is the first step for getting you there. Okay? Have fun with it.